You wake before the sun. There is no gentle morning light spilling across embroidered curtains, no birdsong drifting through open windows, only the sharp clang of a handbell echoing through narrow corridors, metallic, urgent. It is 5 a.m., and you are already late. You swing your legs from a straw mattress in a room barely large enough to stand upright. The ceiling slopes sharply. This is the attic level, reserved for the lowest-ranking servants. The air is cold, even in spring. In winter, frost forms along the inside of the small pane of glass above your bed. Below you, several floors down, stretches a grand Victorian mansion. High ceilings, oil paintings, silk wallpaper, Persian carpets, crystal chandeliers, a world of elegance. But you live above it, hidden from it, like a shadow that keeps it functioning. This is life as a servant in a Victorian household in the mid-19th century. The Victorian era refers to the period of British history during the reign of Queen Victoria, who ruled from 1837 to 1901. It was a time of enormous transformation. Britain became the world's leading industrial power. Railways expanded across the countryside. Factories multiplied in cities like Manchester. The British Empire stretched across continents. Scientific discoveries, strict social codes, and rigid class divisions shaped everyday life. It was also an era defined by hierarchy, where wealth and poverty often lived side by side, not separated by miles, but by floors within the same house. And nowhere was that contrast more visible than inside the walls of a Victorian mansion. The mansion belongs to a wealthy industrialist, perhaps enriched by textile mills in Manchester or by trade flowing through the docks of London during the reign of Queen Victoria. Upstairs, the family sleeps in velvet-draped bedrooms. Downstairs and above in the attic, nearly 20 servants run their world. You are one of them. Victorian service was rigidly structured. At the top stood the butler, master of the house's internal order, the housekeeper, commander of the female servants, the cook, ruler of the kitchen. Below them, footman, lady's maid, valet, parlor maids, kitchen maids, scullery maids, and at the very bottom, perhaps you, a housemaid, a scullery maid, a girl of 14, 15, maybe 17. Many servants were teenagers sent from rural villages. For some, service meant survival. For others, it was the only respectable employment available. You earn perhaps £12 a year, and you will work every single day for it. Your first task is fire. Victorian houses were heated entirely by coal fireplaces. Every bedroom, drawing room, study, and hallway grate must be cleaned and relit before the family wakes. You carry a metal bucket down the servants' staircase, never the grand staircase, your shoes already dusted black from yesterday's soot. In silence, you kneel before a grate. You scrape out ashes with an iron shovel. Fine gray dust fills the air and coats your throat. There are no gloves, no masks. Coal is hauled in, kindling arranged, flame coaxed to life. Now, repeat. Again and again. Up to 20 fireplaces before breakfast. Your hands crack in winter. Your nails never quite lose the black. In the basement kitchen, heat roars from a massive cast-iron range. The cook barks instructions. Eggs for the master, kedgeree from Mrs. Thornton, toast, not burnt this time. The kitchen is hot, loud, alive with motion. Copper pots hang overhead. Dough is kneaded, meat carved, bread sliced. You are not allowed to speak unless spoken to. Upstairs, the family wakes to a perfectly warmed house. They do not see you. Victorian standards of cleanliness were relentless. Chamber pots must be emptied, yes, every one. Indoor plumbing was still uncommon in early Victorian years. You carry porcelain bowls discreetly down narrow stairs. Sheets are aired, beds stripped and remade with military precision. Silver polished until you see your distorted reflection in it. Brass doorknobs shined. carpets beaten outside with wicker paddles, clouds of dust rising into cold morning air, all before noon. You must never speak directly to the master unless necessary. Make eye contact unless addressed. Be seen resting. Use the front door. Servants entered and exited through side or back entrances. In some homes, bells connected every room to a board in the servants' hall. Each ring signaled a demand. One sharp ring, drawing room. Two rings, dining room. A frantic buzzing, emergency. You learned to recognize them instantly because delay meant dismissal. Meals for servants were eaten separately, usually in the servants' hall. The butler sits at the head. Even among servants, status matters. You eat quickly, bread, broth, perhaps leftovers from upstairs. Then back to work. There are no days off in most households. At best, you may receive half a day on Sunday to attend church. Romantic relationships are discouraged. Marriage often means resignation. Your life belongs to the house. If guests arrive, everything intensifies. Footmen in livery stand tall and powdered, silver trays balanced perfectly. You glide across hallways, smoothing curtains, removing specks of dust before anyone notices. Victorian society prized display. Wealth had to appear effortless, but effort pulsed beneath the surface. Yours. You might spend hours ironing shirts with heavy flat irons heated directly on the stove, sewing torn hems by lamplight, scrubbing marble floors on hands and knees. The grandeur upstairs exists only because exhaustion lives below stairs. Not every household was cruel. Some servants stayed decades, forming quiet bonds with families. A lady's maid might become a confidant. A nanny might raise children from infancy. But power was absolute. Dismissal could mean homelessness. There were no employment protections, no unions for domestic servants in early Victorian England. And reputations followed you. A bad reference could end your prospects entirely. You lived carefully. You learned to move without sound. Dinner service is the most demanding ritual of the day. Multiple courses, perfect timing, no mistakes. The butler orchestrates it like a military operation. You stand along walls, back straight, eyes lowered. Candles flicker across polished silver and fine china imported from across the empire. You smell roast pheasant. You will eat cold stew later. After the family retires, more work begins. Ashes cleared again, doors locked, oil lamps extinguished carefully, laundry sorted for morning. It may be 11 p.m. before you climb the narrow staircase back to your attic room. Servants often suffered respiratory illness from coal smoke, arthritis from constant scrubbing, malnutrition from poor diet, exhaustion from 14, 16-hour workdays. Yet for many working-class women, service was considered respectable compared to factory labor. In factories, accidents maimed, hours were brutal, conditions were dangerous. In service, the labor was relentless, but indoors, and you had a roof. There are small mercies. Laughter in the kitchen after a successful dinner, shared secrets among maids, sneaking a warm roll before it reaches the table, listening quietly from the landing to the piano drifting from the drawing room, imagining a different life. Some servants saved money, some married tradesmen. A rare few rose to higher positions, but most remained in service until age or marriage ended it. A Victorian mansion functioned like a living organism. The family was the visible face, but servants were its beating heart. Without you, fires go cold, meals go uncooked, floors gather dust, guests see flaws, status crumbles. And in Victorian society, status was everything. You live closer to wealth than most of the population ever will. You handle silk gowns worth more than your yearly wage. You polish diamonds you will never own. You overhear conversations about investments, politics, empire. You witness the performance of gentility. Yet you remain unseen. You are present in every room, but never acknowledged as part of it. By the late Victorian era, domestic service was one of the largest employers of women in Britain. But change was coming. Electric lighting would reduce the endless trimming of wicks. Indoor plumbing would eliminate chamber pots. Social reforms and rising wages in factories would eventually make service less attractive. The grand, servant-filled households would slowly decline in the 20th century. But during the height of the Victorian age, they were everywhere, and they ran on invisible labor. You lie back in your narrow bed, hands aching, back burning. Below you, the mansion sleeps in warmth. Tomorrow the bell will ring again at 5, and you will rise before the sun. Because in a Victorian mansion, comfort for a few depended on the tireless discipline of many. You were not simply a servant, you were the machinery behind the illusion of effortless grandeur. And without you, the empire of domestic perfection would collapse into dust.